Hello everyone, and welcome to the Getting Up and Running with Xcode workshop. Now this is a unique workshop. It's the first of several that we're going to be doing, one before each of our mobile courses that are coming up in the very near future on 3D Buzz. The idea of the workshop is to simply provide a little bit of time for students that need assistance in getting their IDEs up and going and basically getting themselves prepared to develop in the particular language or for the mobile device in which the course that the workshop is designed for. In this case, the Getting Up and Running with Xcode is designed to get those of you that need assistance up and going before tomorrow's intense crash course in Objective C. And when that class wraps up, we'll be doing a quick follow-up. Just as a refresher, for those that may have missed it, the intense crash course, because they felt like they already had some pretty good programming experience and just want to get a quick refresher on just Objective C, and then the day after that we'll actually kick off the iPhone development class. For those of you that are joining us for the intense crash course, our goal is to make sure that you are nice and comfortable with enough Objective C so that when we get into the world of iPhone development, we can focus on actual application development instead of introductory Objective C lessons. So that's the game plan. So that's what tonight is for. It's not, there will be just a little bit of lecture, and that lecture is going to be just where to go, how to get it set up, and then a couple of changes that you may be interested in making in your IDE. But tonight isn't actually a course. It's, again, just a workshop. Now, we are running a few minutes late tonight because a new deployment of BuzzNet has been released, and thank you guys for those of you that have joined in. Now, I would like to point out that you can just take a browser, point it over to buzznet.3dbuzz.com, and log in with your regular 3D Buzz credentials, and then you will be in here. And inside of BuzzNet, now there's going to be the ability to send code, which is going to be very important starting tomorrow night, as we're going to actually want to see what people are doing when we have these student exercises and people need to follow along. I have found that throughout all of the live classes that we've been teaching over the past year, switching over to someone's screen is great when you're helping people, but when you want to get quick feedback from everybody in regards to a simple application that they wrote or a simple problem that they solved, you can't really start switching over to everyone's screen, especially if there's 50 people that are in the class. So when we have students in the intense crash course write small snippets of code, after you've tested it in your IDE, you'll simply be able to send it here, and then we get a list, and we're able to share what students have done in front of everyone else. So there is no being shy in these classes. None at all, because we're all here to learn. So, yeah, let's see, questions. Anybody that has questions tonight, please make sure to put them over in the questions panel of the webinar. The questions that have come in so far, so Kevin, we've now answered where you need to go for the BuzzNet, and Jonathan asks, will there be any homework with tonight's class? The only homework is making sure that you have Xcode installed before tomorrow night. Now, I do want to throw this out there. I've had several people email me and PM me on 3D Buzz asking about the ability to follow along with this Objective C course if they're not on a Mac and if they're not with access to Xcode. And you can for the first 3 weeks, because Objective C is really something that sits on top of C. So the first thing we're going to be going over for the first few weeks is going to be C. And you can follow along with any C compiler. We're just not going to be supporting whatever IDE that you're working with. So, I mean, we'll be more than happy to look at your code if you're running into problems, but as far as telling you how to configure your IDE, or if we make configurations on our end, we're not going to be able to tell you what you need to do on your end if you're not using Xcode. Okay? So, again, BuzzNet's going to be very important starting tomorrow night, because we're going to be wanting you to send that code. You're looking at it on the screen right now. And another thing I want to point out real quick, and I'll talk about this again tomorrow night for the students that do not come in to the workshop tonight. But until the new 3D Buzz is released, and it's so close. For now, anything dealing with live classes, make sure you go to the live classes link at the top of 3D Buzz, scroll down, and this is where you will be able to gain access to all of the information pertinent to a particular class. For instance, if you wanted to go back and re-watch a video of a class, you'll notice that on a given day, like Thomas Dodd's class here, there's a V and an H. This indicates that the video is available, and it also indicates that there is homework as well. And by clicking on this, you'll have links that will take you straight to the homework. You'll also have a link that will allow you to go straight to the video to re-watch the video. And I try to get these videos up as quickly as possible. So once the class ends, I usually get right on encoding, and within, say, about an hour, they are generally up and available. Once the new 3D Buzz is out, and again, it's very close, all of this is, I mean, you're still going to have a calendar, but it's going to kind of go away in a sense. You're going to have a student dashboard. You'll have all of your courses very well organized, the places to turn in homework, see feedback from instructors. If you fail homework, places to resubmit homework. You'll be able to track all of that stuff. Also, the ability to see how long until the next course begins. That is in there, isn't it, Nelson? Seems like yeah. I thought I saw that on one of the sidebar pieces.
Yeah, it was something I was playing with, and I'll put it back in there once we work on the design some more.
Now, Evan asks a fantastic question, and that is, will current bookmarks/links work with the new site, or will we have to make new ones?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't be a web developer if I launched a new version of a site and didn't provide some way to I wouldn't break links. I mean, that's very bad. So yes, existing links to forum posts and users and stuff like that will continue to work. Existing links to videos, however, won't work. I doubt anybody has been bookmarking videos anyway, but if you have been, the reason I'm not going to concern myself with getting those links to work is there are so many methods of accessing the video content, finding the video content, and favoriting the video content that existing links are kind of ridiculously obsolete. But video threads will definitely be fixed.
That's right.
Or redirect.
The ability to find videos is going to be so much easier, let alone get notifications with new videos to particular series that you're following have been added to the system. It's going to be very flexible. It's going to be very convenient. So needless to say, I am quite excited and anxious to get this new student dashboard available to everyone. But in the meantime, here over the next week or two, again, it's in beta testing, and all of the new store stuff pretty much wrapped up yesterday. There's just a lot of things that need to be fleshed out, optimized code-wise, and then the aesthetics portion of it wrapped up, which that's been designed. It just needs to be implemented. So another week or two. But the big thing is all of the functional code is in place and is being beta tested by a lot of people that have been kind enough to help us out. So those are two things that I wanted to point out. Now let me go ahead and switch us back over to Nelson's screen. Okay, Nelson. So go ahead and just give the very basics on where to go to get it.
Yeah, to grab Xcode, you just got to open your dock.
Can you not get it on TeamViewer?
Hold on. There we go. Open your dock and jump over to the App Store. So from within the App Store, you can go ahead and click on this little search and type in Xcode. Wow, that was slow. Then once you type in Xcode, go ahead and grab it from here, and you'll want to go ahead and install it. For this particular version, I do believe this just downloads the installer. Am I correct in saying that, or was that the last version, Jason?
Oh, I've just kept mine installed and up to date. I haven't paid attention. I just always click install and let it do its thing.
Okay, so one of two things might happen when you click on the install link. Either it will download and install an installer, or it will go ahead and download and install Xcode. I can't remember if they fixed that in this the latest version. I've just kept mine up to date over a while. So yeah,
what is the version that's showing right now?
The version that's showing right now is
okay,
4.5.2.
Yes.
I'm not sure if 4.5.2 is going to be available on all Mac OS versions, though. Particularly if you have an ancient Mac OS version, and in Apple operating system terms, ancient is anything that's less than 2 versions old. So that will be like Leopard or Snow Leopard. You might not be able to grab the latest version of Xcode. In that case, just don't worry about it. That won't be a concern in this particular course, but once we get into the iPhone stuff, it'll be something we'll have to keep in mind a little bit more. But as far as Objective C, any version of Xcode should work fine. But the older versions of Xcode, they did redo the interface to an extent in the last version. So if you can't install the latest version because you're 1 or 2 operating system versions out of date, you might have some difficulty following along, but we'll help you out on that. So yeah, stuff and things.
Okay, pretty straightforward. So let me see a show of hands, those of you that are still in need of downloading the actual IDE. And Jen asks, do you recommend that we have the latest Mac OS?
Yes. I mean, the reason I say yes is because they're so cheap to upgrade. As long as your hardware supports it. Again, Apple hardware, in terms of Apple hardware, ancient is anything that's more than like 2 years old. So if your hardware supports it, I'd say go for it. However, in this particular class, it won't matter.
And then Jonathan asks, will you be using OS X 10.8 specific stuff, such as iCloud?
No. I have Lion, not Mountain Lion, so okay. Yeah, Lion should work. I can't remember the latest version. Well, yeah, it will. Whatever version you can install on Lion will be fine. I can't remember if it's going to be the exact version that you see right here. But again, anything from Leopard should really be fine. Any version of Xcode you can get for that. Yeah.
Okay, and it looks like only a couple of people left that are still downloading. So it looks like most everybody has already got it set up. Nelson, I don't know about you, but there's just 2 things right offhand that I like changing over in Xcode, and I'm sure you will as well. And that is line numbers and our indentation.
Right. Now this is a. Actually, I have no idea what I had open right here. Let me go ahead and I'm going to nuke out Xcode entirely, then relaunch it. And go ahead and launch it again. So this is for people who are completely new to programming. Programming deals a lot with text. We write a lot of text. And there's a bit of a sort of religious war, I guess you could say, on how you format that text in regards to indentation, because it's really important to indent your code in order for you to be able to read it easily. And there are 2 common ways of indenting your code, via spaces or via tabs. At 3D Buzz, we use tabs with a tab width of 4. A tab width is a tab is a tab is a tab. A tab is always a tab, but you can have it display as if that tab were the width of 4 spaces or the width of 8 spaces, for example. So if I brought up Notepad right now, which I can't because I'm constrained to this TeamViewer screen, but if I brought up Notepad and hit tab, you would see the tab character push the text over 8 spaces. Even though it's still a tab, it renders it as if it was pushed over 8 spaces. I think that's a little bit too much. I don't really like 8-space tab width. I prefer 4-space tab width. So what you're going to want to do is go and if you want to...
It's up under Xcode?
Yeah, Xcode and then Preferences. To change those particular settings, you're going to want to jump over to...
your text editing?
text editing, and indentation. And then prefer indent using, you want to change this from spaces to tabs. And then go ahead and keep your tab width as 4 spaces. Again, this doesn't mean that hitting tab is going to add in 4 spaces. All it means is hitting tab, or a tab character is represented by the width of 4 spaces. And if I hover over it, actually, there's a nice little visual width of tab characters. That's probably a lot more succinct explanation than what I just gave.
And then the other thing is click back over on editing. This is something we find very helpful when doing these programming classes. Make sure to turn on line numbers. Definitely turn on line numbers.
Whenever more than one person is looking at a screen, even when one person is looking at a screen, they find they get like an error message or something like that. You always want to be able to quickly identify a particular line of code in your file. And so if you don't have line numbers on and we're looking at your screen, we're going to have a very hard time telling you where to look because we won't have, a number to tell you. So make sure that you have the line numbers selected. Which I don't know why the default for Xcode is to not have line numbers and the default for Visual Studio is not to have line numbers. That always seemed weird to me.
Yeah, me too. Now, we did have a question from Jonathan, and he asks, will you guys cover various ways to install apps that you make as well? And not in the intense course to Objective C. That's going to be just focusing on language only. We're going to be talking a lot about dealing with apps when we get into the actual iPhone course, though. So just to answer that, I just want to make sure everybody knows this course, the Intense Crush course to Objective C, is designed for beginners that are beginners to programming, wanting to learn Objective C, or here's a better one, or wanting to learn how to make iPhone and iPad applications. To do that, we need to cover the language of Objective C, but to cover Objective C, we've got to also cover the basics of C because Objective C sits on top of C. So it's going to be, it's just basically an extension to C. So there's a lot of things that we need to cover. I did not want to turn this into a very lengthy course, like, a 8-week course or something. I just wanted to get it out of the way before the Christmas holiday got here. And the only way to do that was to design the course in such a way that it was going to be an intense experience to beginners. But in doing so, I made sure that there's going to be a lot of interaction. That's going to be very important. The more you get your hands dirty with code, the faster you're going to pick it up. If you just sit there and you just watch and don't practice, you're not going to pick it up. It'll be much, much slower. So this is going to be a very interactive course. We're going to get to know each other really, really well. So Nelson, I'm curious if is the code submission thing that you've got so far, is that still not complete as far as the admin end?
No, you can go ahead and click View Code right now if you want to see the submissions that I asked for earlier.
So, yeah, I was just curious about that. So if somebody actually, well, let's do one other thing. Let's, if you want to walk people through just a very simple, since it looks like just about everybody has Xcode installed, just have them get a very, very, very simple Hello World app or something up, running, and installed.
We're not going to be talking about this code. The code, I don't want to talk anything about this code at all. I'm not going to explain anything. That's for tomorrow. But what I do want people to be able to do is be able to create a project, write code, even if they don't understand what it is, and then run it. And once we've done all those 3 things, then we'll be done. Tomorrow we'll actually go over the actual code, obviously. So starting with Xcode, you'll get this welcome screen. Go ahead and hit Create a New Xcode Project. So from here, you're going to want to go ahead and go under OS X. Obviously, we're not doing iOS in this particular class. Then you're going to want to go under Application and Command Line Tool. So then hit Next. Now give it a product name. I'm going to go ahead and say, I don't know, and Crash Course 1. So that's the name of the project. Then you're going to want to go ahead and make sure your type is selected as C. You don't want C or C++ or C++ or anything like that. And then turn off use automatic reference counting, because that's not going to be a issue for now. So go ahead and hit next. So this will open up a little file dialog that will allow you to select where you want the application to physically be located on your computer. I'm going to go ahead and create a little folder right under here called Objective C, and then hit create. Also, go ahead and uncheck create local Git repository for this project. I don't think that's going to get in the way at all, but we're obviously, that's very out of scope of this particular class. So make that unchecked just to make sure that it's not going to interfere with anything else or cause unnecessary UI clutter. So then finally hit create. Okay, so now you see a very terrifying window. Like seriously, like this is probably the least user-friendly window they could have possibly shown you at the beginning of project creation. Just completely ignore it. You don't care about any of this right now. On the left-hand side, however, and if your left-hand side isn't showing up, click on this little guy up here that you see me toggling to make sure that your left-hand side file explorer is showing. Now you're going to want to click on main.c, and now you'll see a bunch of code already written, so you're not going to even have to write in code for this particular exercise. But make sure that you can navigate to main.c, that you do have line numbers set up right here. And look, I just created a breakpoint. And make sure that your code is highlighted and blah, 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 and it's all good. So once you have successfully created a project and opened up main.c, go ahead and run it. And to run it, you just click on this little run button. Now you're going to want to make sure that this is set up to my Mac. Obviously, it should be the only option that you have, but if you have other options for some reason, make sure that it's selected to your Mac. So then hit run, and I'll say build succeeded. And now down here, a little window will pop up. This little window is available with this little toggle button. And what this window is going to show you is the output of your program. So if you guys are familiar with writing code in Visual Studio on Windows, you might be used to having a command line pop up. In Xcode, that's not how things are done with command line tools. Instead, you see the terminal output down here in this little window. That also means that there is it's not necessary to do a cin.get or a console.read key or whatever you might be used to. If you followed like beginner tutorials to other programming languages, you might remember having to pause the console window. There's no need to do that here because the output is displayed right down here. More specifically, this is the output to pretty much everything. If you just want to select your target output, that will show the same stuff. And by target output, obviously, I mean the output of your program. So yeah, just make sure that you can get to basically this screen, and we should be good.
And I've already had several questions that have come in about code over in the questions panel. If you guys don't mind, I want to keep all of this very relevant, and including tomorrow night once we kick off, I want to keep ourselves on target. Again, going by feedback from 3D Buzz members, that's one of the things that in the past we kind of got ourselves in trouble with, and that's going off on tangents. One of the things I'd like to be able to provide to you guys will be the open office hours, which is available time where you guys can come in. There is no class. You can get help with homework. You can get answers to questions that may be outside the scope of what we're covering, etc. We've provided those quite a few times in the past. The only problem was nobody really took advantage of it, just a few people. So hopefully this time around.
That's because we spent so much time in the sessions actually covering those tangents.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. But hopefully we'll see people joining us in those because they can be a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
And then Jen asks about, do we need to download any other tools for Xcode?
No.
This is all you're going to need for the Intense Crash Course.
Yep, Xcode is entirely self-contained.
Now, what I wouldn't mind testing real quick, Nelson, is if everybody that followed along copied that code and pasted it in the new send code button that's available in BuzzNet. I just want to see code actually come in.
Yeah, so did you click on view code?
I'm about to.
Because then you can actually watch it populate. It's fun.
Nice. Stealth coder, you fail. This is code.
No, that was from before.
Oh, yeah. See, that's, I said there was a couple things I wanted to talk to you about so that we could almost have like, small, I'm flipping through code here, like small sessions so that everything stays relevant in the database. All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. All right. Very cool. So now we've got code coming in. Yeah, it looks like it's working very well. All right, Stealth Coder, you're off the hook, sir. Very nice. Very nice.
Of course it's working well. I built it.
So how did the beginning of class go again?
Oh, that was FTP's fault.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, yes, Miss Jen, all you need to do is don't cut, just copy and paste. Command C, Command V, and that will do the trick.
Oh, yeah, so your line numbers will not come through. Line numbers are a facet of the editor only. They're not something that's in any way related to your code. So, as you see, there's no way for me to select the line numbers even.
Okay, well, thank you guys for helping us test that.
Looks like some people are deleting the comments at the top. I thought I said not to edit the file at all.
Oh, no, we're not getting super specific at the moment. And all the formatting is holding up, because some of the formatting is kind of interesting here. Like Dementis. He's got an extra tab.
Well, he is... he doesn't have an extra tab. He has 2 tabs and then 1 group of 4 spaces.
Okay.
So what you're seeing right there, Jason, is a tab width of 8 on that particular thing. I haven't played with the formatting of that yet.
Oh, okay.
But he has 4 spaces on that return 0 line and then tabs on the other 2 line. That could just be from a misconfigured Xcode setup or something.
Okay.
Stealth Coder thought I would be happy without comments.
And I'm sure Nelson was. Jen also said that will, without the line numbers, it's going to make troubleshooting a bit harder. In this case, with the things that we're going to be looking for, I don't think so, because the idea here is to be able to quickly get those that are participating, get their code over to us, and I'm not going to have anybody post huge amounts of code as we start focusing on the different elements of the language. So it should stay very straightforward. Plus, having all of this available to us on one window will allow us to be able to bring it into the viewing area of the actual webinar so that we can go over people's code as well. But see, we can do it so much faster now because having this as opposed to switching over to everybody's screen is going to be very handy. Now, I am curious about one more thing for those of you that remember where your hand button is over on the webinar panel. There you go. Very nice, Mr. Matthew. For those of you that are completely new to programming, please raise your hand. All right.
Really?
And then for those of you, does Fortran many years ago count?
No.
No. Nice, Jen. Very nice. Okay, so about a quarter of the class. For those of you that are joining us and you're already experienced with coding, I don't want you bored. Remember, this is designed for complete beginners because we don't have any type of content like this on 3D Buzz. That's why I didn't want to just launch right into an iPhone development class.
Right, and mainly because, as far as Objective C is, Objective C goes, Objective C is so different from all the other content that we have beginner material on. So like for the Android class, because Android is Java, you guys can just follow like, XNA 101, get a good handle on C#, but then do the Android class just fine. But Objective C is so weird that there's not any beginner material we can point toward people towards.
Right, at least none that's available on our site. So that is why we're going to be doing this course. So I just want to point that out, and I'll point it out again tomorrow night. I don't want anyone disappointed here. We've had that happen in the past where somebody's gone into one of our 101 programming classes and then they were shocked that we weren't getting into advanced concepts. I just want to make sure that we're very clear that this is designed for complete beginners. So I don't...
Or the people tricked me into going off advanced tangents.
No, that's not going to be happening this time around. And Jen asks, so Android will be with Java? Yes, it will.
Yep. And Java's a very easy language, so...
We're going to do each of these different mobile devices with the recommended language, as opposed to using like MonoTouch or something.
So is there anything else you wanted to cover today, Jason?
No, I mean, that's it. Like I said, it's just a workshop for providing assistance for anyone.
Yeah. How about we go ahead and pause and maybe take a break and see if questions come in?
Actually, since there's been no real questions at this point, hang on, let me, Jen just says, is there any foreseeable problems with trying to do DFO both concurrently as a newbie, iOS, and Android?
Depends. Depends on how comfortable. Again, Java is a very simple language. It's a very easy to understand language. It's a very easy language to pick up.
And Windows Phone 8 with C#.
Yeah, C# is very easy to pick up as well. So it's really, that's up to you. I mean, I encourage you to try doing both simultaneously. But if you can't, you're free to just pick one for now and then catch up on the other one later. So that's going to be dependent on your existing comfort level with programming and how quickly you pick up on programming. But as far as the Android class in particular, that should be a fairly easy class to do concurrently with other classes just because the language is so simple.
And another thing that we're going to be doing with the 3 mobile classes, it's going to be interesting, the projects are all going to be the same. So you can compare between the 2 different or 3 different, depending on if you're taking all of them, languages and approaches for developing for those mobile devices.
Yep. So what languages for the Windows Phone 8 then? Well, C#.
Yes.
Well, I mean, I guess he's asking that because Windows Phone 8 does support first-party support HTML and C++ as well as C#, but we will be doing C#.
And Jonathan asks, do you see any issues if I already have an iOS device set up on my Xcode? No, sir, not at all. And then Mr. TC says, will there be issues using Xcode for the Objective C / iPhone courses and for building Unity-based apps? Conflicting settings? No, sir. I've never run into any personal problems with that whatsoever in the past.
Also, will this course walk you through creating certificates and using the iTunes App Store portal? Not the crash course to Objective C,
right.
But we will be covering store stuff for each of the respective platforms in the actual mobile classes.
Correct, and that includes also creating certificates and all, because that's important and can be very frustrating to beginners, without a doubt.
Will the course cover the new syntax for Objective C? Well, no. I mean, if you're referring to, what are you referring to? Automatic reference counting, or what is he referring to?
You going to the link, I take it?
Yeah. Blah, 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 blah. The answer is, don't know. Just wait and find out. Unless Jason has a better one.
Everything that I'm going to be going over is going to be all of just the standard stuff that's required for.
Right, it's all going to be standard Objective.
Yeah, standard Objective C stuff. Now, I mean, if we end up starting to talk about some of the newer things in the iPhone development course, I mean, yeah, that'll probably happen for sure.
Well, yeah, I mean, keep in mind that this is an Objective C course, and we're going to use the Objective C language as it stands today. Just as if we were to do a C# course, we would use the C# language as it stood at that time.
Right. But even then, with C#, or even with C++ 11, that doesn't really count because there were some things that we needed to use in the 101 class. But I mean, overall, it's just going to be standard things that have been around forever. I mean, the first chunk of this intense course is going to be C before we start moving into Objective C, because I mean, a very basic Hello World C app varies greatly from a basic Hello World Objective C app. And there's some things that you need to understand first. And if we just jumped right into Objective C in a beginner programming course, oh man, that's a lot of stuff just in Hello World right out the gate that needs to be explained.
Right. We did have a question. Can we use an iPod Touch or iPad for the iOS class? Yes. Now, as far as using that, I would prefer that you use the iPod Touch, not the iPad. Well, actually, I mean, what am I saying? You would. We're going to be using the simulator, so you don't need physical hardware at all. And if you want to deploy to physical hardware, you're going to have to spend $100 on a developer license anyway.
Oh, and Jonathan asks a great question, because Nelson and I went back and forth with this a week or two ago. That is, will there be a minimum iOS version supported, such as iOS 5 or 6? The answer is yes. Probably 5 will be minimum.
Yeah, because I do want to take advantage of automatic reference counting, and I can't remember which version of iOS. I know that's an Objective C feature, but I can't remember which version of iOS supports that Objective C feature.
But we're not going to be going way back in the day.
Okay, then we'll probably be using 5 then.
Yeah, well, that's what I just said.
Well,
wake up, Nelson.
I haven't had a cigarette for like 2 hours.
Wow, that's good for you. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and stop the video here. So that gives about 37 minutes to put up, just with answering just some basic generic questions and the little walkthrough for grabbing Xcode. So thank you guys very much. Those of you in the class, hang tight for 1 second.